Without a shadow of a doubt, it's the Crumpet Show in social media history. I want to welcome you to another episode of the War Zone. Say, get on your phone and call somebody. I have been out of pocket for about a week, but I'm back. And tell them I am the 5-star general. Tonight, we sitting down with one of the most polarizing figures in the state of Texas. He's running for governor. My man Don Huffines is in the building. So let's get down to it. Say, man, I want to welcome you all to another episode of the War Zone and tell you thank you for taking the time out to tune in. You know, without you good people, I would not have a show. So it's always an honor and a pleasure to sit down and talk to you. I know right now we're in the middle of election season. We're in the middle of primary election season, and you're trying to figure out who you should vote for. And that's a good thing. You've researched your candidates, and now you got to go out and push some buttons and make some crucial decisions. And one of the biggest races in the country is for the governorship of the state of Texas. And of course, we know we got a certified rhino that's over in the governor's mansion, and he has to go. I'm gonna be honest with you, he has to go. So who else would be the best fit to be the governor of the state of Texas? Well, I tell you what, man, I got a man here tonight that says he can get the job done. And his name is Don Huffines, and I want to welcome him to the War Zone. How you doing, my friend?
I am fantastic. Hello, Patriots. I'm doing great.
All right. Well, tell the people a little bit about yourself, Don. We'll dive into this interview.
You broke up just a little bit, Jerry. Tell me again, what would you like to hear? Question?
Tell the people a little bit about yourself, and then we'll dive off into this interview.
Okay. Well, I was born in Dallas, Texas. I'm a 5th-generation Texan. I grew up in the Metroplex. I'm a lifelong conservative activist. I went to UT. I graduated from the University of Texas in 1981 and I've had my business since 1985, and I do real estate, and I really enjoy real estate. It's been very good to me, and I've been married to my perfect wife for 34 years, married Catherine, and we have 5 children, 4 boys and a girl, and we homeschooled them throughout their schooling career and make sure they could grow up in a good conservative Christian environment, and we accomplished that. And I'm a grandfather 4 times over in the last 20 months, and that's a new chapter in our lives. It's very exciting, and I like to brag. All the kiddos went to college, and all 4 boys were Eagle Scouts. So we had a lot of fun in that process. And I've been to a lot of Republican state conventions over the years, and I decided, and real quick on my bio, Jerry, that I was tired of all the lies and broken promises. I've supported a lot of candidates over decades, and they all say one thing, and they go down to Austin and they govern a different way. They all say they're conservative, and you know they're not, and they know they're not. Have you ever met you'll never meet a Republican in Texas that doesn't say they're conservative? And so I was tired of yelling at that television and kicking on it, and so I ran for office in 13 and 14, and I beat a 20-year incumbent, and nobody said I could do it. I didn't have much time, about 150 days to do it. Nobody that really had ever done it to my knowledge. And before, he outspent me 2-1 for the Texas Senate. So, and I beat him. So I know what it's like to be outspent, and I know what it's like to be an underdog, but I really know what it's like to win. So I was in the Texas Senate from 14 to 18, and I got knocked out in 18 when the Democrats finished taking over Dallas County. There's only 3 Republicans left in Dallas County. But so I got a lot done down there, and I can go over all that. And I delivered on all my campaign promises then, and I accomplished a lot, and I'm very proud of my voting record.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, we're going to dive into this interview, and we're going to start with property taxes. Let the folks know what you feel about property taxes and how you plan on dealing with that.
Sure. Well, this is certainly a nonpartisan issue. I mean, I think Texans are just tired of renting their homes from the government. Let me just point out, set the stage for you a little bit. Everything you see is owned by the government. I said, what do you mean, Huffines? That doesn't make sense, but it does, because property tax is a first lien on your property, whether it's your ranch, your home, your land, your business. Half the tax is paid by businesses and half's paid by homeowners. And essentially the government owns it all. And all we do is rent it from them. And you don't have any control of the rent. You don't have a lease on it. You don't know what the rent's going to be, but I can tell you it goes up and up and up every year. And if you think it's bad now, with this inflation kicking in, it's going to get a lot worse real fast. So it's a terrible way to fund government. It's a priority of the Republican Party to eliminate it. I've been working on it for years, and we've got a lot of spreadsheets, Excel spreadsheets, and all that stuff on it. This is very doable. I want to point out this is not political rhetoric. I'm not trying to win votes on all this. I'm just telling you what I'm going to get done. And here's how the top lines of what we're going to do. First thing is we're never having an income tax. We're never going to do that. We already have a constitutional amendment against that. And whatever the legislation I get out of the Capitol, I want everybody to vote on it. So it'll be a constitutional amendment. So everybody will vote on it. And when we get rid of this tax, it won't come back. We'll keep local governments fully funded. My plan will take about 8 to 10 years to phase out. We're going to put them on a glide path to zero. All property tax will be a glide path, gradually phase it all out. We're going to use the state surplus revenue, the revenue the state of Texas gets in. We're going to cut state spending and use the excess revenue, 90%, to buy down property tax every year. And that's a lot of money. Texas brings in a lot of money. We bring in money from the hotel motel tax, oil and gas tax, liquor tax, and sales tax, a lot of other revenue buckets. So we take that revenue, 90% of it, we buy down property tax over 8 years. That's why it takes a long time to phase out. And then we also shift a lot of it over to sales tax. And this is very doable. It's very possible. Everybody's going to get to vote on whatever the plan is. We're not changing the funding formulas for the school districts or the local governments. We're going to keep them all whole the way they are. We're just changing where the money comes from. It's a very achievable program.
Okay. I'm liking what I'm hearing. Now we'll go over to the next subject, which is like a hotbed for especially the southern states, going towards the west. Border protection is something that I'm really big on. I think that we should protect our borders, and we shouldn't just let anybody come across the borders and just come here, because I have issues with people just coming here illegally and then my tax money having to take care of them. Let's talk about border protection. How you feel about that?
Well, this is the number one issue for the Republican Party primary voters, and really it should be a number one issue for everybody in the United States of America, and I think it is. I think it's the main reason that this election, the primary for the governor of Texas, is the most important election in 22 in the country. And this could be one of the most important elections in our history of our country, because the federal government's never going to secure the border. They never have, and they never will. It's just never going to happen. The only chance we have of securing that border is if a courageous governor of Texas. Let me set the table for you and just tell you what's happening out there. I was on the committee in Austin for border security in the Texas Senate. So I've been up and down the river in the gunboats, and I've been in the helicopters, and I've been to the border many times since I announced in May of last year that I was running. Border Patrol's telling me that up to 2 million unapprehended illegals are going to have come into Texas in the last 12 months. They've caught illegals, Jerry, from 148 different countries. This is unimaginable, because every one of them, this is just the ones that we haven't caught. We don't know who they are. No country in the world would tolerate what Texas is dealing with. No country would deal with 2 million people out of 30 million in our state, 2 million people flooding into Texas in a 12-month period. They're catching them from Iran. They're catching them from Pakistan, China. They're catching them from Afghanistan, all the countries, just almost every country in the world. We don't know who these people are. Of course we don't know. And they're all smuggled in by the Mexican cartels. These are the most dangerous criminal organizations in the world. I mean, there's nothing they won't do. The murder, rape, sex trafficking, human trafficking, fentanyl pouring across that border. Well, we got to secure the border. My plan's been up on my website since May, and it's to build Trump's wall for about 300 miles. We'll do whatever we need to do to get that wall built. We'll get the money to get it done. Texas has got a lot of revenue. But the most important thing of my plan is I'm never asking permission from the federal government to secure the Texas border. This is Texas. We don't need to ask permission to secure our border. When the governor Abbott or anybody else says that, they don't know what they're talking about, or they're just flat out lying. Texas doesn't need to do it. To ask permission, I mean, Texas can do whatever we want. The U.S. Constitution, and that'll be Article 1, Section 10, clearly gives the state the authority to repel an invasion if the federal government's not coming to our aid or helping us. It gives the state the authority to do whatever it wants to do, raise an army, charge a tax, enter into a treaty with a foreign nation, and that is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to repel the invasion, because any way you define it, this is a premeditated attack on Texas and our country. And we got to repel the invasion. The rules of engagement are quite simple for the military when I engage them, and it's to repel the invasion. We're not enforcing immigration law. We're going to immediately deport everybody we catch back across the river. Hey, there's 25 bridges over that river coming into Texas from Mexico. Mexico's being a very bad neighbor. Look, I love Mexicans. I love Mexico, but I'm telling you, they're being a bad neighbor. I'm going to put the economic pressure on Mexico. We're going to close all the bridges for inbound commercial traffic from Mexico until they secure their side and take it back from the cartels. They're not getting any of their $1 billion almost worth of stuff into Texas a day. 10,000 18-wheelers cross just in Laredo a day. So we're going to stop all that until Mexico cooperates. Just as a point, every road that leads to those bridges is a state road. We can do what we want. I've got a great legislation program to encourage and get the illegals in Texas to deport out of Texas. And because it's called an E-Verify system. So we're going to require everybody who hires anyone in the state of Texas, one person, if you employ one person in Texas, you're going to have to get them E-Verified. That's the federal check system. And we're also going to try to get them out of our school system. Right now we're educating hundreds of thousands of kids in our school system that have been smuggled into Texas and aren't supposed to be here. And that's costing taxpayers billions and billions of dollars every year. I'll get done in 60 days, what's never been done before.
Wow. And I honestly agree with you. We have to protect the borders. I've been telling people for the longest, you don't have choir boys coming over the border. A lot of those people are not choir boys. They're actually cartel members. And that's why you can see the uptick in crime in cities like Houston, where they put them on the buses in Laredo and send them down to Houston. And all of a sudden, our crime rate is going through the roof. Not saying that it's just illegals that are committing crime, but, we had a constable get killed a couple of weeks ago. And the first place that young man ran to was Mexico. So it's imperative that we protect our borders. We have to. We every now and then we get a question from an audience member. So I'll try to read through the mistakes. And the question says, there are many people in the Black community who are unsatisfied with the Democratic Party, mistreatment, and being neglected. What policies can the Republican Party offer to sway these voters? Now, that is a great question. That's why I put it up, because African Americans need to understand, just like I figured out, but I don't force people to understand it, that being a Republican is not a bad thing. It's just understanding the values that Republicans live by. So what do you think that the Republican Party needs to do to sway that African-American vote, which we know that Joe Biden himself used to get into the White House, and now he's abandoned the African-American community?
Well, that's a long answer. It really is. There's so much that we offer as Republicans to the Black community. I mean, and to any community. And first, let's just run back real quick to the border. When I secure that border, finally Texans are going to have an opportunity to get fair wages. How do you get fair wages if people are coming in here illegal into our country and willing to charge half the price or less than half the price of what the fair wages really would be? We used to have a lot of social mobility, economic mobility in Texas and the United States, and most of that went away when we were flooded with illegals that are coming here and selling their wages way below the fair market. I mean, take, for instance, building a house. I mean, really, the fair wages to do the framing job on a home, for instance, is probably $25 an hour, 20 to 25. But how are you going to get $25 an hour if all the illegals are going to charge $7 an hour? So what we're going to have is more fair wages. We're going to have more opportunity for Texans that are supposed to be here to get a job. And I could just talk about a lot of things. And let's talk about education. I mean, we haven't gotten there yet. And I'm a champion of education freedom, parent choice, parental choice. I'm the one, when I was in the Texas Senate, that wrote the legislation for a lot of that. And I am a champion. I'm a business guy. I don't need this job for governor. I'm not looking for a new job. I'm not looking for a new career to be governor. As a matter of fact, I didn't tell you this year. I'm the only person in Texas history, when I was down there in Austin, that never took a penny from the state of Texas. No pay, no pension, no health care, no reimbursements, no nothing. And I'm going to do that same thing when I'm governor. Because, look, I don't work for the government. There's nothing the matter of working for the government. But the government didn't hire me. The people hired me. And I'm going to do the same thing because the people hire me when I'm governor. But let's just talk about education. Like I started to say, I'm a businessman. Competition lowers the price and increases the quality of everything, including, more important, nothing's more important than getting competition in our government school system. And so I'm a champion of it. They're letting the money follow the student. I want 100 flavors of education. Look, rich people can always get what they want in education. They can go to a private school, they can change zip codes, they can move. And where I found a lot of people were really struggling and not liking their government school, their public schools, were children with disabilities, learning disabilities, or people that didn't have the resources that other people had, where they couldn't get out of the system. It doesn't matter to me why it doesn't work. They might be in the best school district in the state of Texas or the worst. It doesn't matter. The point is, if that school district's not working, that campus is not working for that kid and those parents, they need an opportunity to take their tax money and move and go wherever they want to go. And of course, the Republican Party's been for that. I'm a champion of that. But there are many other issues, from criminal justice reform, from just liberty in general, and empowering the people. I mean, that's what my campaign's really about. I believe in the power of the individual and what an individual can accomplish on their own, and rewarding the individuals. That is a true free market. So it's going to be an exciting time, I think.
You spoke on education. I don't know if you know, I'm running for state rep in House District 131. And I'm a education advocate, and some people say I'm the best in the state of Texas. So I'm gonna tell you before we get down to Austin now, if you get there and I get there, I'm going to be beating on your door.
Yay!
Because I want you, and I need some help with this, because people have to understand this. Mike Morath, who was appointed by Greg Abbott, has never been in a classroom. He's never been a teacher. He's never been a principal. He's never been anything. He was just a school board member in Dallas County. I think that position should be a position that is voted on by the people. That's what I feel, because you have to get somebody in there that has a passion for education. And education in the state of Texas is hurting. It's hurting all across the state. And when you have somebody in a leadership position, and we know that everything rises and falls on leadership, that some days you're going to have to get the right leadership. And it's not a personal attack against Mike Morath. I just feel that position should not be an appointed position where you put one of your friends in there. You let the people decide. Like you said, we don't work for the government. You know, the government has to work for us. So that I'm just letting you know, I'm gonna be beating on your door like every other day until we can get that done.
Well, I appreciate that. That would be something else. But I agree with you. The fact that's very interesting. I like the input on that. I like what you're saying about at least the TEA, Texas Education Agency, should be led by maybe a faculty member, instructor, or teacher, or somebody that's actually been in the classroom.
Yes. Now, expound on medical freedoms. I see you're big on that.
I am.
Tell the people about your ideologies with medical freedoms.
Sure. Well, I'm for your medical freedom, but I'm also for all kinds of freedom. Your personal freedom, your economic liberty. I mean, that's the fundamental role of government. And I'll go back to the lens I looked through as your governor, or the lens I looked through when I was in office. I'm not in office now. And that is and I asked this question: what is the fundamental role of government? What really is the fundamental role of government? And it's always to defend your God-given liberties. Your liberties come from God. They don't come from the government. You were born free. You were born with inalienable rights. These are rights. These are not privileges. Whether you believe in God or not doesn't really matter. The point is, you already possess your liberty when you're born. And our founders of our country knew that. Of course, that's why they wrote the Constitution. We don't swear an allegiance to a king or queen or to the military. We swear allegiance to a little document. I think I got it right here, a little Constitution. And this was written specifically to restrain government, because the founders of our country knew the biggest threat to your God-given liberty was the very government they were creating. So another way of saying that is, what is the fundamental role of government? The fundamental role of government is to protect you from government. And that's just a fact. So Abbott forgot that when he shut us all down. I'm getting to answer your question here in just a second. He shut us all down, and it was the catalyst in March of 2020, and that was the catalyst to get me to really run. I couldn't imagine a Republican governor who is supposed to swear an allegiance, as all elected office holders, to this document would shred the document, unilaterally close tens of thousands of businesses, put 3 million Texans out of work in 2 weeks, make them dependent on the government. He didn't have the authority to do any of that, because he forgot what the fundamental role of government is. He also forgot that a true patriot never blindly follows government. A true patriot questions government. You don't just have the authority to question government. You've got an obligation to question government, because you are the government. The people are the government. We don't have any obligation to believe whatever the government said about this pandemic or the scamdemic or whatever you want to call it. I never believed any of it. I put an article and it was in an op-ed, and most of the papers in Texas carried it on the 3rd week of April, begging Abbott to open the state back up, begging him to take the mask mandates off. He closed our churches. He closed our churches on the holiest season of the year, Easter. You couldn't bury the dead. You couldn't get married. You couldn't get baptized. You couldn't hold the hand of the dying. You couldn't even go visit your mother if she was dying and sick. Every way this state responded was on him. He's 100% responsible for it. And you know something? In the history of Christianity, we've never closed our churches in 2,000 years. We don't close our churches because you're talking about possible salvation of souls, but he did it anyway. He keeps a mask mandate on us for 9 months, and people thank him for taking that thing off, and that's like thanking a thief for bringing some of your stolen stuff back. Of course, I never would have done any of that. I was for vaccine freedom and vaccine choice before we had the Wuhan. I will make sure that no Texan is ever forced to take a vaccine they don't want to take for any reason. That's a simple legislative fix. And it's the same with the mask. If you don't want to wear the mask, don't wear the mask. But if you want to take the vaccine 10 times, go ahead. I do think it'll kill you. It might kill you. I've never taken the vaccine and I never will.
Well, we can be brothers because I've never taken it either, and I don't plan on taking it. And I'm gonna be honest with you. One of the reasons why I did not take it is because you're not gonna force me to take something.
Amen.
You're not gonna make me take a vaccine. You're not going to make me wear a mask if I don't want to wear a mask. This is my body. This is my life. And I constantly tell people, and they're like, why you didn't take the vaccine? Because God is my vaccine. I believe in the higher power. I'm not taking a vaccine to think I can live longer than I'm actually going to live.
Well, that's it. We don't need to live in fear. Jesus told us all the time, fear not. I mean, that's what the angels told Mary. It's one of the last things he said to the apostles. Fear, stop this fear mongering. And I just ask everybody, why do people believe that the government's got the answers? Why do we believe that? Why do we believe that media is telling the truth? And I don't know if they've ever told the truth. They might tell it now and again, but it might be by accident. But
you know what, Don? When we live by Christian values, even during something like the pandemic, I go to the Bible and I read about Daniel in the lion's den. Mm-hmm. This is how I look at the pandemic.
Okay.
The Daniel was wrongfully accused of something. And normally if you were accused of that, they threw you in the lion's den. And, the king was upset because he knew Daniel was a good guy. But they threw him in the lion's den anyway. And the next morning when the king woke up, Daniel was still there breathing. That's just a short version, y'all, of how I put it. And the thing is he was like, how did you survive that? And Daniel was kind of like, I just kept my faith in God. I did not have to worry about anything as long as my faith in God never wavered. And that's where I have a problem with people that put their trust in the government, in media, because now you're not trusting God anymore. You're not trusting God anymore. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I had a religious moment for a second.
I like that. No, I like hearing it. I think it's very valuable. I really, of course, thank you for it. But it's when Abbott closed everything down like that and closed the churches, that's when I decided that we had to act. I have to do something about it. And because this is a guy who's supposed to believe in our liberty and our freedom, and he didn't, and he still doesn't. He's just a political windsock blowing in the wind, he's a career politician, trying to figure out what he stands for and what position to take. That he's been in office over 30 years, and he's never signed a paycheck in his life.
Wow.
And he's just been on the Texas taxpayer for that length of time. So, you probably know this. Socialism always leads to communism. It always, then it leads to tyranny, and the horrors are unimaginable. Hitler was a member of the Socialist Party. Stalin was a member of the Socialist Party, for instance. I mean, we're all sliding down this slope to hell, and at the bottom is the pits of hell. And the Republicans, my battle was with a lot of the rhinos down in Austin. That's who I battled with on a daily basis, and the Democrats also. But the Democrats want to get there today, and the Republicans are just going to get there next week if we don't wake up everybody. I think this is a case of good versus evil. I really do. I've always thought that. So maybe
I want to ask this question. We get some.
Here's one.
All right. Can you see that, Don?
I do.
Since Don is a conservative Christian, what is his take on legalizing marijuana?
I get this question a lot. I really do. I get it a lot. My position is right now, I'm for the expansion of marijuana for medical reasons. If you've got a medical condition and whatever that is, that's up between you and your doctor. and particularly for children of epilepsy and things like that. There's a lot of reasons that people might need to use marijuana for a medical position, and I hope they wouldn't abuse it. I'm also for the unifying the enforcement of the laws around the state. Often I hear about people in rural areas being subject to more severe penalties than people in an urban area for the same offense or the same amount of possession, and that's not equitable. But I am not for the full legalization of marijuana, but I am for the decriminalization of it to some form. I'm just not. I've been into states where it is legal, and it's not a pretty sight. Many people are walking around stoned and smoking dope a lot. And I'm just not for it. But our founders of our country knew and often said that to experience true liberty, true freedom, you have to have a virtuous society. So I'm here for a virtuous society, and I don't think anything that encourages people to be inebriated necessarily with marijuana is a good idea.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something. I've never met Don, y'all. Me and Don have never met personally. But do you see how two people on different ends of the spectrum think the same way? I just had a show on this last week, Don, where I said I'm for medical purposes for marijuana, but just because you just want to get high, no, I'm not for that. So you guys, you see how we kind of think alike? I'm gonna ask you one more question because I know you got a busy schedule, and I want you to, let's see where we were. I want to ask you about the biggest issue that's across the country, which is crime. As the governor of Texas, how do you plan on combating our rising crime rate?
Well, this is it's going to entail getting the state involved a lot in local issues. Houston, as you know, is about to be the murder capital, or last year one of the murder capital of the country, and this is an embarrassment for the state of Texas, and it's a horrible situation for everyone in Texas, and of course the people in Harris County and they're in the Houston area. But it's not just, it's also Austin. This is what happens when the liberals take over. Look, the liberals are this is also what happens when you lose the culture war. I can go into this whole thing, but the detail from 30,000 feet, the leftists want to replace God with government. And they've done a great job of doing that. And we've lost our moral fiber in our country and in the state of Texas. When we lost the Supreme Court in 1961 case and took prayer out of the schools, and then a year later we lost the Bible couldn't be in the school district in our government schools, and other court cases since then, we've got two generations, Jerry, right now that don't have a real moral foundation. Because when you take Christianity or Judeo-Christian culture, it's who we are as Americans. For 350 years, that was taught. Our schools were Christian schools. They were taught by the ministers and all, and the families and the homeschooling. And when you take that away, you replace it with being agnostic. You replace it with being an atheist, or you replace it with being with modernity or whatever. Those are all religions. It's just not our Judeo-Christian beliefs. So as governor, most things are downstream of the governor's office, our virtue, our culture, our legislation. I plan on getting prayer back in every classroom. I plan on getting Bible studies, biblical studies in it as our history in our junior highs. We've got to give 5 million children that graduate from our government schools a year some foundation of morals. And that's going to help a lot. But to get back to your question specifically, all the authority that a local government has, the local district attorney, the local judges, everything is created by the state legislature. The state legislature can change the rules any day they want. They can change it so the DA has less authority, more authority. They can create new court systems. They can create new prosecution systems. The state of Texas can do anything. The state of Texas created the city of Houston, or allowed that creation to occur. The state of Texas certainly created Harris County and established the boundaries for it. The state of Texas can uncreate it. We can do anything we want. All the authority that all local governments have comes from the state legislature.
Well, I tell you what, man. I thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and sit down with my audience, and they've asked some very good questions, and I think you've done a great job of answering those questions. You didn't run from one question, and normally we have people on the show and they duck and dodge, but Don Huffines did not duck and dodge any question that was asked. So final thoughts. You got a lot of people out there right now that are trying to figure out, should they vote for Don Huffines? Your final thoughts. Why should they vote for you for governor of the state of Texas?
You're not taking a chance voting for me. I deliver on what I say I'm going to do. If I tell you I'm going to get rid of property taxes, if I tell you, which I am, I'm going to secure that border, you can count on it. When I tell you we're going to have confidence in our election, we're going to win this culture war, we're going to do it. I've got the record to back it up. I've got the voting record, and that's where the rubber meets the road. I don't need a new job. I don't need a new career. I'm doing this because the job is not getting done. It puts me at a real distinct advantage because I'm not worried about the political ramifications or being politically correct. I'm worried about solving the problems that affect Texas. And I've got the experience, and I've got the solutions, and I've got the courage to implement those solutions into law. I'm the only candidate running for office that has experience in the state legislature. And let me tell you, that is so valuable. I'm not a career politician, but I can't imagine being governor without having the experience in that swamp. It's every bit as deep as the one in Washington, D.C. It's a very vindictive place full of snakes. I know who I can trust. I know the committee process. I know the budget. I know the process. I can get my bills done. I can get the legislation done. And I can tell you, I have the courage to make it happen. That's the main thing we're missing in our country today, in our state. We don't have courageous leadership. Who's standing up for anything? Who's standing up for our culture? Who's standing up to fight besides Jerry and me? Not many. There aren't many people because they're in it for the wrong reasons. They're in it for a career. And when you stand up, you get shot and they sit back down. I've been in there. I was cussed at and screamed at in that Texas Senate more than I've ever been in my adult life. I fought those battles. I stood up when everybody told me to shut up and sit down. So I've got the record to prove it. I'm a fighter. And Patriots, it's not going to just be a new day in Texas under Huffines administration. It's going to be a new chapter in Texas history. It's going to be a new book in Texas history. I'm going to prove how sovereign the state of Texas can be. I'm not asking permission from anyone, not the federal government, to secure our border or to put prayer in our schools or anything else. I'm going to prove to the world what it means for Texas to be sovereign. Our greatest days are coming. We'll bend the knee to no man, to no government for no reason, because this is Texas.
I appreciate you, my friend. And if we both end up in Austin at the same time, I look forward to working with you so that we can make this better. But I'm promising you, Don, I'm gonna be knocking on your door many days now. I'm gonna be on your door. Thank you, my friend.
I want to see you. You come by anytime. We're going to have fun.
All right. Thank you.
Our greatest day. Oh, wait a minute.
Okay.
DonHuffines.com. Huffines. Go to DonHuffines.com. The election has started. You can vote today, and the election's on March the 1st. Republican primary. Go to DonHuffines.com to find out all my issues. I've got comprehensive solutions to everything because I want to be accountable.
All right, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Say, man, that was Don Huffines. He's Republican running for governor of the state of Texas. I want to have a discussion with you because I've been out and about. I've been out campaigning, meeting people, and I want to say this to you. This is not the election for you to stress your political affiliation. This is the election that could change the state of Texas. This is the election leading up to 24 that could change the country. So yes, if you are a Democrat, well, let me flip it. If you're a Republican and you're not satisfied with your Republican leadership, show them why your vote counts. If you're a Democrat and they've not been working for you, then go in and vote for a Republican. Now, you're going to have to go in and vote for a Republican to get to me. Let's get that straight right now, because I'm not going to change who I am. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm not doing it anymore. It's not going to happen. So you're going to have to go in on that ticket and with these new voting machines, because I voted yesterday, there's 96 pages that you have to go through. And I need you to be patient, and I need you to go through, and I need you to go all the way down that ballot, and vote on every single race. So if you want to vote for 5-Star, if you want to vote for me, if you want to vote for Rashad Baylor, if you want to vote for Don Huffines, you're going to have to go in and you're going to have to tell them, I want to vote on the Republican side. But guess what that's going to do? Mr. I'm a Democrat all my life. That's going to show them that if you want my vote from here on out, you need to do your job. But we shouldn't bank on them doing their job in the future. Make this vote count based on what they've done the last 4 years. If they've not done their job, then they should not get your vote. And that's all it boils down to. So, next week we have another week of early voting. And next week, I'm shutting the camp down, because starting this Sunday, I'm coming out with the Endorsement Show. And I'm going to shock the world on some of the people that I'm going to recommend that you vote for. Because if you think that I'm going to recommend you as a politician and you ain't did nothing for the people, Republican or Democrat, it's not going to happen on my watch. If you think that I'm going to recommend that somebody put you back in the criminal court and you've been letting these criminals out that's been killing us, I'm going to shock the world. I'm not going to give you that endorsement. So the thing is, look for candidates all next week to come on the war zone. Look for them. I'm just waiting on the time. Because I can't wait to do this interview with Martina Lamont Dixon, African-American, Humboldt ISD school board president, running for county judge, Republican, African-American. She will be on the war zone next week. Now, if you're bold enough, Democrats, whoever, and you want to come sit in this hot seat, let the people know who you are. But see, I'm going to tell you something. You got to tell me if I'm wrong. I'm watching these Democrats duck and dodge forums. They're duck and dodging answering questions because they really don't have answers for your questions. They really don't. They have no answers at all for your questions. So they're not doing the public appearances. They're just putting their signs out, got people walking around passing out cards and praying like crazy that you forget that they've done a horrible job. Me switching from Democrat to Republican was sort of like filing bankruptcy. What I mean by that is the day I switched, which was June 21st, 2020, I woke up, I was still breathing, I had money in my pocket, and I wasn't a Democrat, I was a Republican then. And life went on. Listen to what Huffines said as far as his values. How do two men, a black man and a white man, have the same ideologies about marijuana in the state of Texas? Because like-minded people think alike. Common sense. We're not against marijuana being used, you feel what I'm saying, for medical purposes. But if you just want to be a dope head, then we got a problem with that. I say, man, I'm telling you, I'm excited. I'm geared up. I'm out and about every day, out pushing you know, the narrative. And one of the narratives that I'm pushing is Lena Hidalgo has to go. Point blank, period. I don't want to hear it. We need a county judge that has a backbone. We need a county judge that's not going to be controlled by Rodney Ellis or anybody on commissioner's court. We need somebody with a backbone. And I'm going to be honest with you. Martina Lamont Dixon says she has a backbone. And that's why she coming to the war zone. She's not scared. She's not afraid to answer the questions of the people. And if you've noticed, I don't have a problem getting a Republican on this show because they're not afraid to say that our state is not operating right. We have to fix it. But I can't get a Democrat to come on. Why they won't come on here? They scared? I'm gonna just ask the questions and let the people ask the questions. But if somebody who's in a position that could change the trajectory of our city and our state, and they don't take the time out to come on to one of the hottest shows on social media to engage the people, you see what I'm saying? Thunder said, I have noticed that the Republicans don't mind coming, but for some reason, those Democrats don't come. And it's a reason for that, because they have no answers for your questions. They have no answers. When you talk about crime, they have no answers. They cannot give you solutions to any of these problems, but yet they want your vote. So if you're a stone cold Democrat, I'm going to challenge you right now. If you like Don Huffines, go on the Republican side of the ticket. Go on, and it's just for the primaries. Go on. If you know that they got Republicans that are better than these Democrats, you're going to have to go over there and you're going to have to vote on the Republican side. But I challenge you to do it. Because if not, this is not going to be the city, the county, or the state that you want to live in for the next 4 years. We've given them a shot. We've given them every chance in the world to fix whatever problem there was. And they haven't done it. And honestly, they don't plan on doing it. So if everybody wanted to know where I stood, and, you know, I voted yesterday. I went and voted yesterday. And I voted on the Republican ticket. Republicans all the way down the row. Because I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. You've done nothing for me. You've done nothing for my community, and I'm not voting for you. You have the power to change this country. I want you to stop cooking. I want you to stop playing with the kids for a second. I want you to stop and just listen to me. Your vote is your power. Your vote is what they want. And your vote is worth more than a turkey during Thanksgiving. Your vote is worth more than a turkey for Christmas. Your vote is a valued, sacred situation with you that can help change our communities. And it's time for you to stop giving it away. Come on. You too can be a Republican. You too. What's wrong with Don Huffines? He's a man of faith. He's a man that wants better. He doesn't have to go in there to make money. He makes money. And like he said, he doesn't work for the government. The government should be working for him. My endorsement show, and y'all sit tight, we're going to do it Sunday. And here's the thing. When you're voting in the primaries, you either have to vote Republican or Democrat. You got to make that decision. Now, in the general, you do what you want to do. That's the election in November. But now you have to make that choice. Make these people feel it. If they've done nothing for you, jump over here with us for a second. Jump over here with us and do not give them people your vote. and make them do their jobs. Because some of them need to go, and they need to go like yesterday, because they're not helping us. They're not helping our children. They're not helping the next generation of Texans. Why wouldn't I like, as a person, why wouldn't I like Don Huffines? There's nothing wrong with him. Is he the devil that they say because he's a Republican? No, he is a Christian. And that's all it boils down to. So my thing is, jump over here with us. You too can be a Republican just like 5 Star. The world will keep moving. Your neighborhood might end up safer. Your schools might stop failing. Them raggedy roads you drive in your car on might get fixed. Because the people that's supposed to be doing it, they ain't doing nothing. They get your vote every single time. And they not doing nothing. So my brothers and sisters, come on over here and hang out with me. I wouldn't lead you astray. I wouldn't lead you wrong. But in order for us to get it done, we've got to change our leadership. We have to. We have no choice. We have to. We have no choice. Ever since I've been in the Republican Party, oh man, them people gonna use you. They gonna treat you like a nigga when it's over. I have not met any person in the Republican Party that's been disrespectful to me. I want to answer your question and I'll get back to this. Would you agree, though, legalizing marijuana would bring in a lot of revenue for the state? That money can be used to do more. Look, first of all, let's stop right there. Run Trail could be used to do more for education and roads. First of all, you got to have the right governor in office. It doesn't matter what money comes into the state of Texas. Because if they take the money that should go to roads and education, for education and infrastructure, and they put it in the general fund, it doesn't go where it's supposed to go anyway. You got to have the right governor in office to pull that off, first of all. Now, I agree that it would bring in more revenue, but at the moment, I'm not comfortable. I am not comfortable with marijuana being legalized. This is not the regular marijuana, man. This ain't what me and you used to smoke back in the day. We were smoking weed. These people smoking formaldehyde and all kind of other stuff. I don't know. I think legalize it for medical purposes. That's the only thing that I'm going to say as far as me. I'm not comfortable with it across the board because I think right now is not the time. It's too much going on. But I will tell you this. Ever since I've come to the Republican Party, I've not been disrespected. I've been treated as an equal. I have been treated in a manner that I've never been treated in the Republican Party. No one has ever said, well, we're going to use him up and then we'll throw this nigga back to the neighborhood. No, that's never been told to me. Let's get it straight, man. The misconceptions that these people are painting for you, I have not seen them. And you know my heart that if I would have seen it, I'd have told you about it a long time ago. I've not seen it. I see people that want to get this country back on track. I see people that want our educational systems to perform at the highest level. I see people and hang around people that want the crime to go down. They're not making excuses. They're not making excuses, man. They're not blowing smoke. And I'm going to tell you something. You need to give serious consideration. You see what I'm saying? Just strapping up that red and coming on with it. If old 5 Star, born and raised in 3rd Ward, Texas, in the slum, in the hood, in the ghetto, can pull itself out, and now hang around like-minded people that only want to see me do good, why wouldn't I? I've been called everything under the sun, not by my white Republican friends, but by my former Democratic partners. I've been called ignorant and stupid, not by my white Republican friends, but by my former Democratic partners. As I fought for children in the educational realm, people that sit on city council right now said that I was ignorant. My Democratic friends said that. But yet my Republican friends applaud the work that I do on a daily basis. I'm tired of being on the plantation. And right now, you call it what you want. In the beginning, I felt like a runaway slave. But now I done got to freedom. And I'm not going back to the plantation. And you need to give serious consideration to getting off the plantation yourself. Because you will never be the strongest African American that you can be living on that Democratic plantation. They're not going to allow you to be. They're going to keep you strapped down. They're going to keep you bogged down in a manner that you will never, ever understand. I have my freedom now, and I'm not going back. And you should get off the plantation, and you too should not want to go back. Sunday, let's do it. 3 o'clock. If you ain't voted yet, Sunday, 3 o'clock, I'm going to put the flyer up, and we're going to shock the world with this 5-star endorsement show. We're going to shock the world because some of y'all ain't getting endorsed. I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. And that's all it boils down to. So y'all get ready. I got some good friends of mine that are putting together a major fundraising event for me. And it's going to be, I think it's going to be phenomenal. And that's when I'm going to find out who's with me and who is not with me. Because I'm going to need your help to get to Austin. But I can tell you one thing and make you one promise. That when I get there, I'm going to have them shaking like a stripper at $2 Tuesday. Say, man, it's a reason I'm the best in the business. Every night, 7 o'clock, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and I'm all over TikTok now. I'm a TikTok star. Say, man, get on the phone and call somebody and tell them Sunday, the endorsement show, 3 o'clock with your man, the 5-star general. Until Sunday, I'm going to holler at you. But I'm heading to Austin, Texas when I get rid of my opponents in 131. And I'm going to shake it up like a stripper at $2 Tuesday. Get ready to shake your tail feather in Austin because 5 stars coming. I'll holler at y'all, man.